3 years into the life of the Super Nintendo, one game would release that would pave the way for a new breed of games known as Metroidvania, which is a combination of Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Super Metroid. The original Metroid was released in 1987 in North America, and it would be almost 7 years later before the world would receive the next big installment, only preceded by the Game Boy Metroid game called Metroid 2: Return of Samus. The reason for the delay was the director said, "We wanted to wait until a true action game was needed, and also to set the stage for the reappearance of Samus Aran." Like Metroid, Super Metroid was co-developed by the Intelligent Systems and Nintendo's Research and Development 1 studio. The director for the game would be a veteran at Nintendo and had worked on multiple NES games including the original Metroid before taking on this project. The director would state that development started around fall of 1991, and before starting the project, he would take a trip to Seattle, the location of Nintendo of America's head office. While in Seattle, Nintendo of America employees took him to a shopping mall and walked in multiple stores and introduced him, saying, "This is the guy who made Metroid." Turns out that everyone in the mall knew about the video game Metroid, and to his surprise, even a girl in the boutique shop knew and exclaimed, "Whoa," upon meeting him. The director would say that with the Super Nintendo, the tech was way more advanced, allowing for more ideas that were previously impossible, but being on a deadline could cause these ideas to be left out of the game. So ideas had to be thought out well beforehand and drawn up before the developers got too far into coding. The development would take around 2 years, with the director saying the first year was basically a learning period with the tech on the Super Nintendo. The music for Super Metroid would be composed by 2 composers. While the NES only allowed for 3 channels and a 4th for noise, the Super Nintendo allowed for the use of recorded sounds simultaneously on 8 channels. The composer would also develop code that allowed for sound data to travel to the sound chip, allowing them to play new kinds of music not generally heard in video games, such as a women's chorus. When Super Metroid released worldwide in 1994, it was distributed on a 24 megabit cartridge, making it the largest Super Nintendo game of its time. The game would receive instant praise, with Nintendo Power saying, "May well be the best action-adventure game ever." Electronic Gaming Monthly would name Super Metroid Game of the Month for May 1994. They would also give it Best Action Game of 1994, and in 2003, they ranked it the best game of all time. It's safe to say that people love the game, but it wouldn't sell well in Japan, with Donkey Kong Country beating it in sales. However, even with the slow start in Japan, the game would still sell over 1.4 million copies worldwide by late 2003. Even with the success of the game, it would still be 8 years before Nintendo would return to the series with Metroid Fusion for Game Boy Advance and Metroid Prime, a first-person action-adventure game for the GameCube. Just like Super Metroid, both these games would be critically acclaimed. Before we finish, here are some quick facts for your enjoyment. This is the first Metroid game where Samus could fire in all directions. This is one of the first open world video games to include map features to show outlined rooms, indicate locations, and items. The director would let his wife and children test the game and make changes based on their feedback. For the Japanese version of the game, Samus's death would have her suit break away, revealing her to be completely nude and scream in agony. However, this was deemed potentially controversial, and she was given a 2-piece bathing suit instead. Super Metroid was the last Metroid game to be released by producer Gunpei, since he left Nintendo in August 1996 amid the failure of the Virtual Boy. He would later die in a car accident in October 1997. May he rest in peace and his work at Nintendo live on forever. Thanks for joining me on a brief history of Super Metroid. As always, make sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, and follow me on social media. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Rod here with Zivivi Entertainment. Before I get out of here, make sure to check out Digital Break for some awesome content creators. Digital Break is a 1-hour block on local TV that premiered in April. They are taking talented YouTube creators and airing their content on local TV. So make sure to follow and like their Facebook page. Thanks everyone, I'm out.